Welcome back on this Friday as we continue to look at the book of Exodus. We're going to examine the 10th chapter today. This is the 8th and 9th plagues as we look at them. Let's start with the first verse. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go in to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I may show these signs of mine among them, and that you may tell in the hearing of your son and your grandson how I have dealt harshly with the Egyptians, and what sign I have done among them, that you may know that I am the Lord." The purpose of the plagues, again, we've talked about this multiple times, is to know God, so that the Egyptians would know him, so that the descendants of Israel, Moses, his son, his grandson, would know what the Lord did to the Egyptians and how he had power over them, that he is the great I am, that he is the God over all things, the one true God. He then, in the verses in between, again, read over the whole chapter of Exodus 10, either as I go through it or as before or after, to make sure you get the whole story. We're going to pick up with verse 7 after he announced the next plague to Pharaoh. Verse 7, "Then Pharaoh's servants said to him, 'How long shall this man be a snare to us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord their God. Do you not yet understand that Egypt is ruined?' So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said to them, 'Go serve the Lord your God, but which ones are to go?' Moses said, 'We will go with our young and our old. We will go with our sons and daughters and with our flocks and herds, for we must hold a feast to the Lord.' But Pharaoh said to them, 'The Lord be with you if I ever let you and your little ones go. Look, you have some evil purpose in mind. No, go, the men among you, and serve the Lord, for that is what you are asking.' And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence." It kind of seems like Pharaoh is negotiating with the Lord, isn't it? He brings Moses in and says, "Okay, I'll let you go, but who's all going?" And when Moses said what the deal was, that all would go, even flocks and herds, Pharaoh said no. Only the men, trying to negotiate with God. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt for the locust, so that they may come upon the land of Egypt and eat every plant in the land, all that the hail has left." As I was reading over this today, I was thinking about how opposite it is from the blessings that God gave to the land of Egypt through Joseph, one of Israel's sons, the one who saved them from famine and led them to be a strong nation by storing up the grain for 7 years and then making it through the 7 lean years and having Pharaoh become wealthy and powerful. Here, the Lord is going against Pharaoh because Pharaoh is not listening to the word of the Lord. Pharaoh's heart is hardened. And because of that, look at the destruction. The grasshoppers, the locusts, are going to eat every plant in the land that the hail hasn't already destroyed. So they're already suffering and hurting, as Pharaoh's servants said to him. But now there's another plague. Verse 14. "The locust came up all over the land of Egypt and settled on the whole country of Egypt. Such a dense swarm of locusts has never been before, nor ever will be again." All right, gnats are irritations, right? Flies are very frustrating, but locusts are gross, and they are destructive, eating anything that there is in the path. What a destruction this must have happened. And it talks about the land being covered with them and in their houses and everywhere. Verse 16. "Then Pharaoh hastily called Moses and Aaron and said, 'I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you.'" Oh, wow, we've noticed this pattern before, right? That Moses, or that Pharaoh wants to get rid of the plague. So he calls Moses in and he says, I've sinned against the Lord, against Yahweh, the great I am. I've sinned against you. So please call off this plague. And then he does, but then Pharaoh goes back on his word again and again. Verse 17. And the Lord turned the wind into a very strong west wind, which lifted the locust and drove them into the Red Sea. Not a single locust was left in all the country of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the people of Israel go. Once again, we see this whole hardening of heart, that the Lord is in a way responsible for Pharaoh not listening, not giving in, because the Lord wants to prove a point to the Egyptians, to the Israelites, to the whole world, who he is and what he is about to do. Verse 21. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, a darkness to be felt. So Moses stretched out his hand toward heaven, and there was pitch darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. A little bit later on, it talks about how the people of Israel had light, but no one else did. Again, God protecting the people of Israel and their flocks and giving them what they need. Darkness is really going against the sun god of Egypt. And it also foreshadows a little bit about the light coming into the world, the light of Christ that pierces the darkness of evil. So in a way, this darkness, not only is it a real physical darkness, but it's a darkness that points towards evil and not listening to God. Throughout this, we see Pharaoh kind of negotiating with God, saying that he'll do something if God does this, but then he goes back on his words, and we might say, no wonder why Egypt was destroyed. But yet don't we often do this? Lord, if you just get me out of this one struggle, one difficulty, I'll do whatever it is. And we go back on our word. We bargain with God, and we don't keep our end of the bargain. But the Lord keeps his bargain with us. Not his bargain, his covenant. He keeps his covenant with us, the promise that whoever trusts in Jesus has that faith to see him as our Savior will be saved. We'll be in heaven with him one day. Come back next week. We're going to be looking more at the Passover, beginning with chapter 11. We'll see you then. God bless.